Well, howdy you all. I think it's something that I've been thinking about doing, and so I figured, what the hell, let's just go ahead and do this. I wanted to talk about the whole concept of the axis, that dice, or any object in space for that matter, operates on, okay? And so let's talk just real quickly. Some of this will be remedial, and then I'll hit a couple of things that maybe are new. All right, so this represents an axis. These obviously are dice. So if you have been working on dice setting for some time now, you know that if you have, let's just use a hard way set because it's easy to understand. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Okay. So when you pick up these dice and then you get them and then you throw them, what the dice are going to be parallel to the table because they're starting flat on the table. So you have this surface. So the dice need to be in relation to that surface. They need to be in relation to this surface. So this right here is going to represent the end of the table, the part of the table that you're shooting towards. So you are the shooter, and you're looking at the back wall. Okay, so your dice are going to be traveling. I'll use two hands here. We're going to be traveling towards this back wall, and you want them to be turning together on an axis, correct? That's what you learn, that's what you see, that's what is taught, okay? Now, so that means that these cubes are turning this way on an axis, going through them, going right through the middle. So if you could imagine the axis going through that pip in the middle of the 5 and coming out right in between the two twos, right, the two pips on the 2, that would be the axis, okay, for that die. And if you had the same setup, you had 5s on axis, then it would be the same thing. So the axis goes through. Now, we talk about it and we say it all the time. Oh, the dice come up, they hit this wall, and they come back, right? And we'll take a look at that. And all right, so let's just do it again. Okay, and we'll do it the hard way because that's with the 6s. That's what people are familiar with. Okay, so these dice come up. They're thrown from over here. They come in, they hit the table, they come up, and they come down. All right, so this was on we got a 5-2, it doesn't matter what the result is. But we don't see a 6 or a 1, so that means we say, oh, they're on axis. Well, the result is on the same axis that they started on. But the fact of the matter is, let's do it again. And don't belabor this too much, but the fact of the matter is they come, again, you throwing them, they're coming in, and they're hitting like that. All right. This is what ended up. This one, we say it was off axis, and we say this one was on axis, because this is showing what was in the axis that we started with. But this one is not on the same axis because the 6 is facing out and the 1 is facing this way. We can this one was that way, so I'll always say that one. So really, they both are not on that. They both did not end up. They ended up with one face that was on the axis and the other face that was not, that was a primary face. But if you understand, they didn't come down here. They didn't land together on axis, come up, hit this thing, and come back, and maybe go like that, but stay exactly on axis. Why is that? Well, obviously they're square objects. They have points on them, and it's extremely difficult to get them to land flat and then get a bounce up and hit here flat and come back flat. They're going to hit a bit of an angle, and once they do that, now the axis is going to be different. Now they might be tumbling this way, so that their axis, where it started this way for this die, now is turning this way, and maybe even like that, so that the axis goes this way. So what you have to understand and is that, yes, the dice have an axis. They can be traveling and spinning this way, which is on that axis. Once they hit this wall or the table, they can now start spinning this way, which means they're turning either right or left on an axis that's going through like that. They could also start going this way, either clockwise or counterclockwise, and that means then that they're going on an axis that goes like that. And that in physics, I believe it, yeah, is called the XYZ axis, and that is a really, I mean, I'm not a math person, or I know very little about physics, but I do understand that concept, that an object will have rotation that either goes this way, this way, this way, or that way. Okay, so the axis can go this way, can go this way, and it can go that way. So that's what you need to understand. And so when we say that we had a single pitch, you know, everything stayed on axis, but when we say that they came up and one came off axis, this one either turned this way or it turned that way, so it turned on that axis. And if it didn't stay exactly, if it didn't stay on this one, then it could have shifted to that one. So it's really a misnomer when you say that the result was on axis, because it's not going to be this axis. It's going to be an axis. But what you want to say when it's off axis, you know, the type of axis it was. But that's all real technical sort of crap. But the bottom line is that you need to understand that and recognize that you can control, to the best of your ability, only one aspect of the whole thing. And you can control or influence, as the dice are coming from you, again, you out there, across the table, and once they hit there, now you have the table surface and then the back wall taking that axis and turning it this way or that way or that way, or maybe all of those things once it hits here. That's why that's there. That's why the casinos put it there, and that is their defense, if you will. So, am I trying to say that dice influence, dice control doesn't work? No, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say, and hopefully I'm saying it in a way that isn't horribly confusing, is that you can only control, you really only have control to this point here. And the amount of energy, the amount of spin, and whether it's a side spin or a top spin, or whether you purposely put them at a little bit of an angle because you want them to go a particular way, because you want them perhaps to split that way, you know, for some reason. That's the control you have. But once, so you have that's the x-axis. Once you hit this table and here, the y and the z axis take over. And what you can hope for is that you're minimizing the amount of movement that they have once they hit the table, so that that randomization is minimized, and that your preset, whichever you've put it in, whatever that might happen to be, there's the 3V, will have a more positive result, and you will have a better opportunity to have influence over the result. And the result is, after it's come over here, hit the table and come up. That's the result. Everything up to that, you have control over that point, and from that point, your control is gone. The only thing that you influence can take place there because of the way you preset the dice, and the amount of velocity, and the way, and the angle, and how flush they landed, and where they landed, and that sort of thing. Okay, so I don't know. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully it makes some sort of sense. I want to thank a couple of folks that one is I never pronounce his name right. Koji Ninja, I believe he did a lot of videos a while back, and now he's pretty much doing a pro thing, and hourly lessons and that kind of jazz. But he talked about this concept, the XYZ axis concept, in an early video. I suggest you look that one up. And he he did that to help everyone understand what happens if you started off with a 6-6-1 axis and you ended up with a 1-3. What happened here? This one moved this way to do that, but it could have come up here, and it could have done all sorts of other things. That's just the way it ended up. So you can describe it being on that type of an axis, but the thing of it is they do so many different things, and you watch, you look, you slow it down. Once they hit here, I mean, they're really, sometimes I don't understand how on earth we are able to maximize some numbers and minimize others. It just is amazing to me that we're able to do that. But anyhow, hopefully that give me a shout out if you have any questions. The other guy I wanted to mention is Cashier's Cage, because again, he's very knowledgeable about this sort of stuff, and he really sort of challenges you to think through these things, and what the actual influences that you're having, and not to kind of fool yourself, and not to get too enamored with certain things, because there is an awful lot of luck. I say that luck has very little to do with it, but there is a tremendous amount of luck that is involved with this and any sort of physical sort of sport kind of activity like this. Trying to control an object that you're throwing. Be it a baseball, be it hitting a golf ball, be it hitting a tennis ball, or a racquetball, or probably even kicking a soccer ball, for that matter. So there you have it. We went about 13 minutes. That's not too bad. And take care, y'all.